easy when you're upon the mountain and you've got peace of mind like you've never known. But then things change and you're down in the valley. Don't lose faith, for you're never alone. For the God on the mountain is still God in the valley. When things go wrong, He'll make them right, and the God of the good times is still God in the bad time, and the God of the day is still God of the night. You talk of faith when you're upon the mountain. Oh, but the talk comes so easy when life's at its best, but it's down in the valley of trials and temptation, and that's when faith is really put to the test. For the God on the mountain is still God in the valley. When things go wrong, He'll make them right, and the God of the good times is still God in the bad times, and the God of the day is still God of the night. I'm awful thankful to be here this morning. I could have came up with probably 3 or 4 excuses right offhand, and I could have stayed home.
Yeah, that's right.
I work third shift and I got to work tonight. I need rest. My back is absolutely killing me. Could be another, and the list goes on and on.
Yep.
And there's a lot of people this morning that are not in church or not serving God for those very reasons.
Yep. Making excuses. Yep.
You know, that song right there, I sung to a girl who's dying about 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago. And last week there, I was sitting in an interview at work, and it seemed like now that my back's hurting, I had 3 interviews in a row. And I thought to myself, well, I can't even barely walk. How am I going to sit there for 45 minutes?
Right.
One interview being an hour and a half.
Wow.
How can I sit there that long and make it through this while all of a sudden? And, you know, one of the questions that the last panel asked me, I'd never met these people before in my life, and it's more of a leadership role at work. And they said, well, when's the last time you can think of that you took the role of being a leader when no one else would step up and do it. And the first thing that came to my mind was that song and that girl, and I said, well, you know, my 10-year reunion's coming up from high school. I'm just 27 years old, and there's a girl who's just a little older than me. They had found out she had breast cancer, and when she went and got checked out, they had found out it had spread throughout her whole body, into her bones, into a lot of other places, and she's stage 4, she's terminal. And that really got a lot of people that I know, a lot of people that we graduated with and stuff, they were very awkward about it, and people didn't know what to do. And I said, you know, I went and I talked to that girl and I asked her, I said, you know I'm a preacher now, and you know the way that I live. Is it okay if I come to your house with some people from the church and maybe we'll sing a song for you and go down and lay hands on you? And she said, yeah, that's good. That would be great. And she told me she was a Christian, which brought a little bit more comfort to me, because a lot of people I know, especially my age, they're atheists, they're agnostic, they're what have you, whatever names they've got for it now. You know, so I reached out to the rest of the class and said, you know, I'm going over and I'm doing these things. You know, would you mind coming over there with me and maybe surprise her? We'll get some money together. I know she's going to face some hard times. And we showed up at her house and she was very surprised. She wasn't the most popular girl in school, you know, and she was very quiet, very nice to everyone. Never had a problem that I can think of with anyone. And you know, I went into that room nervous, more nervous than standing before you here this morning. Because I'm surrounded by people who don't believe in God. I'm surrounded by people who look to me to be something else than what I am now. And you know, they went around and everybody was hugging her and talking to her. And then I stood up and I started to speak a little bit, and before I could even speak, you know, the tears were already beginning to flow, and I looked at her and I said, you know, I know your situation, how scary it may be. I said, but every Sunday I stand and I preach to a congregation, and behind me a man sits who's not supposed to be here today, who had cancer. And I said, you know what? And they talked me into staying here in Kentucky this weekend. And tomorrow I'm going to go to church, and a little woman's going to come up and give me a kiss on the cheek. And she's not supposed to be here anymore. And there's going to be a little man sitting over here singing every song that we sing, and he's going to whistle up and down the aisles. He's not supposed to be here anymore. You know, my grandfather had his last heart attack. You know, they said they wouldn't give him much longer. It's been 10 years since I heard that. I said, so don't lose your faith. And I said it with tears in my eyes and barely able to get a word out. And then I looked up, and the first ones I seen crying was those little atheist kids. And you know, that means a whole lot. You know, I had to put my head down when I was telling them that in that interview, because when I say things like that, you know, it touches my heart. It makes me, you know, get a little teary-eyed, maybe cry a little bit. So I put my head down while I was telling that part. And when I looked up, there wasn't a dry eye in that room either. There wasn't a dry eye in that room there where I was interviewing. And you know, for the next 30 minutes of my interview, we didn't talk one thing about work. They talked to me about church. And if you know, if I don't get that job, then everything that I got from that little interview had to be just fine. Because that's the most important thing here in this world. And that woman asked me, she said, well, you being a Christian, how do you make it in the workplace with all the people who don't believe and how they shun Christians like us? And I said, well, listen, my Lord don't have to speak to me in parables now. You see, I understand what this is all about. And what I do every Sunday is I stand before a congregation where maybe somebody has to be spoken to in a little parable in a way that I don't have to be spoken to here. You see, I understand that this right here is the most important thing that you can do for yourself. It's the the most important thing that you can do for your children and your family. I understand that without the blood of Jesus Christ here this morning, that you have no way to heaven here. If you're at that age of accountability here this morning, listen, you need to get Jesus on your bond, and that's all there is to it. And you know something is going to take you out of this world. You may not make it home today. I may not make it home today. Oh, well, let me tell you that when I was there in Kentucky, you know, it wasn't on the best of circumstances. I came in to see my grandfather who was in the hospital, and I was there to go lay hands on a girl who is so scared about that cancer that she's got. And it took me back just a little bit of when I was a little boy, and my grandfather would always take me out hunting in those mountains. It seemed like we'd scale those mountains for miles trying to find where his dogs had something treed at, and it would get so bad that I would ask him, I'd say, well, you got to carry me. And you know what? He'd pick me up on his back, and he'd scale those mountains over all those thorns and dead trees to take me to where we needed to go, and he'd carry me back down. And you would think that that was enough right there to not want to take me anymore. But it wasn't. He took me everywhere he went. And I always revered him as one of the strongest men in the world. And you know, when I was little, he used to stand there, and every morning he would shave in front of the mirror, and he'd give me one of his little razors with that guard on it. And I'd sit there and I'd pretend to shave, just wiping that shaving cream off my face. Well, you know, I was there at that hospital right before I went and laid hands on that girl, and I seen what this world does to people. He didn't remember half the people in that room. And you know what? I had to go into that bathroom with him because he wouldn't let nobody else go in there. He recognized me just for a moment of time, and I went in that bathroom with him, and I had to shave his face. That's what you've got to look forward to in this world. You're going to forget some people along the way. I've seen it many times in my family. They tell me that dementia is a little bit hereditary, and that maybe one day I may get it. Well, you know, when I was just a little boy there, and I went with him to see his mother when she had dementia there, you know, we went in there and we talked to her, and he would ask her multiple times, Mommy, do you know who I am? And she'd say, no, I have no idea who you are. She had no idea, and she would ask me ever so often if I was hungry, and I had to keep telling her no. But being one of those old Baptist women, she wanted to make sure that anybody that came in her home was fed. But you know, as we began to talk, we started talking about church, and he told her that he was a preacher, and she started talking about church and knew exactly who the Lord was. Didn't know who she was half the time. But when you asked her about the Lord, she knew exactly who he was. And you know that my grandfather's the same way. We went and I sat in his house, and we started singing some songs. And as we were singing there, he would open the book, he'd find him a song, he'd start singing, he'd put that book down and remembered every single word to it. Listen, my Lord, this morning when you get him, he won't leave you. There's one thing about it here, and one day my grandfather is going to pull you, one day he won't remember me. And you know that's going to be an awful painful moment in my life. But I'm looking forward to a day that I can step on the other side of Jordan there. That we can be together where this sickness and affliction doesn't exist. You see that when I get to that stage, if it ever comes upon me, I hope that one day that maybe my children can sit down with me, and if they ask me if I know who they are, and I tell them no, you know, that'll be fine as long as they can pick this up and I can tell them all about it, because that's all that matters. This life right here has no blemish on eternity. You're eternal here this morning, and it's up to you here to decide which way that you want to go.
That's right.
There's nothing I can say up here or do to save your soul. And that's completely up to you. I can remember when I first became a child of God, and just Larry had mentioned it there, I was 7 miles underground deep in the coal mines. 7 miles underground where no technology could have reached me. Cell phones wouldn't work when you got just a few steps into those mines. And I fell flat on my face, condemned of my sin.
Yeah, come on.
And see, I wasn't just a little boy, I was a man then. And I fell on my face and cried out to somebody that I'd never seen.
Yep, absolutely.
I used to not believe either, and we'd go out to a church house and they start to talk about a man named Jesus. And to be someone who doesn't believe and you hear that name and it breaks your heart,
Yep.
there's something to
Amen.
it.
There's power in it.
You see, this world here, it's too perfect for there not to have been an intelligent creator to this all here. Everything works too perfect. And when I talk to people who don't believe and they try to explain to me why human beings are the way they are, they blame evolution. They'll say that we just had to adapt. How crazy that sounds to me, that you're going to tell me that your only explanation is, well, creatures had to adapt. They adapted here. You see, I'm telling you right now, if the power was to go out, and the stores were to close, a majority of the people in this world will be wiped out. You want to tell me that we've survived this long without some kind of guidance? That guidance was all in here. My Lord, He's been here. Let me tell you, I can remember coming home from that mines, and Rachel was sitting out on the porch. She had, obviously had a little bit of bad news. She never greeted me right there on the porch. And when I got out covered in coal dust and walked up there, and she said, I've got some bad news about Isaac. And the first thing that came to my mind was how me and Isaac used to love the party together. And I can remember sitting in his car one time and we were doing things that we shouldn't have been doing, drinking things that we shouldn't have been drinking. And he asked me, man, when are we ever going to grow up? What's it going to take for us to stop doing this here? And at the time I said, I don't care what it is, I'm having fun. And she said that they found him dead there the night before. And I thought to myself, Lord, oh my God, why couldn't have I spoke to him just a little bit sooner? And I can remember we stood over his casket. They had closed his casket there so people could sign it. And there was all the people that we used to party with there. And they were saying things like, well, we're going to party tonight. We're going to drink a few for Isaac. And I couldn't even be around them at the time. I stood over that casket and I put my name on it, just placed my hand on it. In my heart I said, oh Isaac, I found that thing that could have saved you. I finally found it. Now for the rest of my life, I got to live with the fact that I let an opportunity slide. If you're sitting here this morning, if you've got family and you've got friends in this world that need God and need a little bit of guidance, your opportunity's right here this morning. Your own testimony here this morning is that opportunity to reach out to this lost and dying world. You see, there's people that you can reach that I'll never be able to reach. There's people that Brother Brandon can get up and preach and reach that I'll never in my life be able to reach. And I hear people say all the time when we start to talk, they'll ask me, well, if God's so wonderful, then why is there people starving in this world? Why is there people up in Michigan that don't have good water? Why is there kids over in the Middle East and in Africa that don't have access to water and basic needs? I see here in the Bible, and I read as far back as you can go, where God, He created everything. And it's the thing that men have altered that has made this world the way it is. They wonder why that some foods cause cancer. There's not a simple natural food that we've got in this world that is cancerous, that grows from the ground, that was there for us to consume and eat. But when man got a hold of it, you started seeing disease. You started seeing the cancers. Oh my God, made a world that is plentiful for every single person here in this world to be able to eat and be hungry or no longer be hungry. But it's man that stepped in that made that not so. There's plenty of water here that is drinkable in this world, but it's man that stepped in that made it undrinkable for some. My Lord is not the cause of the problems of this world. It's the hearts of man here this morning that is the problem with this world. And you see, you want to find some refuge from your own self. Right here is the way that you find that refuge. And if you got too much pride here this morning, you're going to have to lay that aside because I'm telling you right here, I know that this is the truth and the light and the way. You know, I remember when I just became a child of God. It wasn't a little bit over 9 months later after they had baptized me there that I had my daughter. It wasn't too long after that we stood in Sister Patty's house and the brother sat there and she hadn't moved her lips in so many days. She just laid there in pain. They already had hospice in, hadn't moved the muscle. And when Brother Joey started singing a song, I could see her little lips just moving with their eyes closed. You see that it's not about chance and circumstance here this morning. It's not by coincidence that I've seen many brothers that ain't supposed to be here today come over their afflictions and make it through to live, to give their testimony just a little longer. Listen, this morning it's not about your pride. It's not about the prejudice of denomination. It's your own personal relationship with the God that I serve. Like the brother said, I don't have no sermon written out or anything that I can say that could save anybody's soul. That's completely up to you.
That's right.
And you know, there's many a times when I've left the church on a Sunday and it'd be a real good service that I say, well, I was satisfied, and lie to myself. Because it ain't just a few minutes later that I say, well, I can't wait till next Sunday. I'm not satisfied.
That's right. Short-lived, isn't it?
And what is short-lived here in this world is your own very life.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know what tomorrow holds, and you don't know what kind of opportunities you might let slide.
That's right.
And I'll tell this and then I'll get out of the way and let you brothers come and close the service. One thing that I can't, and there's been a lot of different little things that have happened, but one thing that really stands out in my mind a lot, especially out here in Pilot Mountains, was that Sunday morning when Rachel, she was sick and she didn't make it out of the church, and she had texted me that on the way home she needed me to get something from CVS for her, and it was just me and the kids there. And I stopped there at CVS, and you know, I see this a lot now, and I see it all over the place, but I never see it in Pilot Mountain. But before I went in, there was a man there. I've never seen anyone dressed the way he was dressed. The clothes he was wearing, he had holes in holes, if I can say that. And he had on a pair of broken flip-flops there with socks on that were just, I don't even know if they were barely covering his feet. When I seen him there, I thought to myself, he wasn't holding a sign asking for anything. He was digging through the garbage there at CVS. And you know, I thought to myself, well, I'm going to go inside here and I'm going to get a little bit of cash and maybe I can make his day just a little better. So I walked in and I got what I needed and I got cash back and I stepped outside and he was up on the embankment there, and I seen him he had picked up a little piece of a cigarette and had it in his mouth and had a little lighter and just kept flicking it trying to get it to light, and I thought immediately to myself how quick that the devil just comes up on me just like that. I thought to myself, well, if I give him this $10 here, the first thing he's going to do is he's going to turn around and he's going to go buy some cigarettes, or he's going to buy something that ain't even going to help him out. So I said, I got in my car, instead of walking over to him, I buckled the kids in, I turned that ignition, and no sooner than when that car started, my heart broke right there, and I started crying just a little bit. So I pulled my car around to where he was, and I got out, and I walked over to him there, and I said, here, I want you to have this. I see that you're struggling a little bit, and I just want you to take this, and I don't care what you do with it. And you know, he just took it from you there, and he looked at me and smiled and said, God will bless you for this here. And you know, I told him, I said, man, I'm going to tell you right now, God has already blessed me. It's not about the money here. God has blessed me with a family that's in church. God has saved my undying soul. There's nothing I could have done here today to make it any better. But let me tell you, just take what I gave you there and do the best you can with it. And I drove home, and she had me run back out for something else. And I came out there, and I could not find this man anywhere. To this day, I can't find this man. And you know, I read where it talks about entertaining angels unaware. I don't know if that be the case, but when your opportunities arise, you can't let them slip here, or you're going to have to be like me and live with one of those Isaacs that you couldn't reach out to. Listen, and that's what it's all about here this morning. You have the opportunity to share the gift of God. It's not something that you want to keep to yourself. You've got children, you've got friends and family. My God can give you something that's worth more than any monetary thing in this world.
Yeah.
You brothers come on, and I'll get out of the way here.